tribe, all of my tribe, oh, and all of.
If you have a Bible, stand with me to the book of Luke. The book of Luke, the 7th chapter. And we'll begin reading at verse 36. Luke 7, verse 36 through 50. We're going to be preaching this morning on the thought, the prophet, the prostitute, and the Pharisees. The prophet, the prostitute, and the Pharisee. And one of the Pharisees desired him that he would eat with him, and he went into the Pharisee's house and sat down to eat. And behold, a woman in the city, which was a sinner, when she knew that Jesus was set at meat in the Pharisee's house, she brought an alabaster box of ointment and stood at his feet behind him weeping, and began to wash his feet with tears, and did wipe them with her hair of her head. And she kissed his feet and anointed them with the ointment. Now when the Pharisee which had bedded him saw it, he spake within himself, saying, This man, if he was a prophet, would have known who and what manner of woman this is that touches him, for she is a sinner. And Jesus answered and said unto him, Simon, I have something to say unto thee. And he said, Master, say on. There was a certain creditor which had two debtors. One owed 500 pence, and another 50. And when they had nothing to pay, he frankly forgave them both. Tell me, therefore, which of them will love him most? Simon answered and said, I suppose he whom he forgave most. And he said unto him, Thou hast rightly judged. And he turned to the woman and said to Simon, See thou this woman? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I entered into thy house, and thou gavest me no water for my feet. But she hath washed my feet with her tears, and hath wiped them with the hair of her head. Thou gavest me no kiss, but this woman, since the time I came in, has not ceased to kiss my feet. Come on, my head with oil, and did not anoint, but this woman had anointed my feet with ointment. Wherefore I say unto thee, her sin, which are many, are forgiven. For she loved much. But to whom little is forgiven, the same loveth little. And he said unto her, Thy sins are forgiven. And they that sat at meat with him began to say within themselves, Who is this that forgiveth sin also? And Jesus said unto the woman, Thy faith hath saved thee. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Go in peace. The prophet, the Pharisees, and the prostitute. Our text today deal with one of the great short stories that we can find in the Bible. This short story deal with three people. It deal with a prophet named Jesus. It deal with a Pharisee and a prostitute. Jesus was invited to dinner by this Pharisee that was named Simon. And when Jesus was invited to dinner, this prostitute showed up. I guess you could call it, guess who coming to dinner? As we begin this story, this short story, to give you some background information on the story, The first thing is that this story takes place as a formal dinner. It's a dinner party in ancient Palestine. It's very important to understand that in those days, the dinner was outside in an outer courtroom. In other words, it was in an open air setting. The public, the neighborhood, the people around was invited to come and watch. It was held on the outside. The neighbors was free to come into the courtroom and the courtyard and sit around and watch. They could sit around and observe. They wasn't considered as guests, but yet they wasn't considered as intruders. They was self-invited guests. And so as they sat in this outer courtyard for a formal dinner, Simon was there, Jesus was there, and the people in the neighborhood came by to observe. The second thing we need to understand is during this time, it was customary that when you would invite a guest to your house, there were several things that you would customary offer them. The first thing you would do when they would come in, you would welcome them with a kiss. And then the second thing you would do is you would give them water so that they could wash their feet. If you was rich enough, you would have a servant to wash their feet. But if you didn't have a servant, you would at least offer them water so that they could wash their feet from the dusty journey as they traveled to the house. The third thing you would do was you would offer them oil. Because of the heat, because of the sun, because of the parchness of the skin, many times you will need oil to help your skin. Yes, sir. Come on now. You will offer them a kiss, offer them water, and offer them oil. As we look here, as Simon invite Jesus. Yeah, come on now. Come on. When Jesus got to Simon's house, Simon, being the man he was, wanted to invite Jesus. He wanted Jesus to come, but yet he didn't want to seem too close to Jesus. He didn't want to offend his friends, the other Pharisees. So he dealt with Jesus from a distance. He invited him, but yet he dealt with him from a distance. He did not offer him a kiss. He did not offer him water. He did not offer him oil. He offered him a seat as they sat down at a table. As they reclined at this table, Jesus noticed something about Simon. This man who had invited Jesus to his house for supper, he noticed that Simon was sort of distant. He sort of fed him with a long spoon. Old folks said long handle spoon. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. He didn't want to offend his friends, but yet he wanted to be associated with Jesus. He wanted to know more about Jesus. Simon was not like some of the Pharisees. Some of the Pharisees had nothing to do with Jesus. They was critical of Jesus, and Jesus was critical of them. Simon was sort of middle of the road. Simon was sort of straddle the fence. Simon wanted to keep friend with his other Pharisees, but yet he wanted to rub elbows with Jesus to learn more about this man from Nazareth. So he invited him to dinner. Simon was different. Simon wasn't totally committed to nothing. Sort of like folks in Congress and senators and folks in the White House. They're not really committed to nothing. They sort of on both sides of the fence. Depends on what's popular. Depends on where the most votes come from. Depends on what everybody else is doing and saying. Simon wanted to be around Jesus, but yet he didn't want to offend his Pharisee friend. This was a social invitation. It wasn't the type of invitation that you would pull out your best china. It wasn't the type of invitation that you would pull out your best furniture, your best chairs, eat at your best table. It wasn't that kind of dinner. It was just a formal dinner, casual, we may say, dinner. Jesus was there. Simon was there. I got to emphasize that Simon was straddled the fence. Because you see, Simon just really wasn't totally against Jesus, but he wasn't for Jesus. And he didn't believe in none of the stuff Jesus was teaching. Because Jesus was teaching the Pharisee was hypocrites. He was teaching that Pharisee was robbing widows. He was teaching that the Pharisee was like white sepulcher, clean on the outside, but inside full of dead man bones. That's the kind of teaching Jesus was doing. He says the Pharisees, the church folks, was hypocrites. Simon was there. Simon was there. He was a curious person who wanted to get close to Jesus to see what was really going on. And as he invited Jesus into his home, they sat down at the table. And as they were sitting there talking, all of a sudden, while they were sitting there at the table talking and communicating, other folks around watching, all of a sudden, somebody crashed the party. There was a woman in the city. This woman had met Jesus before. This woman was a sinner. That's what Luke said. Luke said she was, past tense, a sinner. This woman was formerly a streetwalker, a prostitute, a call girl, a madam. Can I keep going? Do you understand what I'm saying? She sold her body across the counter of exchange for a profit. But this woman had been changed. She was no longer the girl she used to be. Since Jesus came into her life, there was a change in her life. This woman crashed the party. No doubt she had been watching from a distance. And she saw how Simon had treated her Lord. She saw how cruel Simon had been. She saw how from a distance Simon had been treating her Savior and her Master. This woman was a prostitute in her past. She was a call girl in her past. She made her living by selling her body to men in the past. She was a professional. I don't know nothing about her, but I'm sure she was good at what she done. But she had been changed. And the shocking thing is that she have come into Simon, a Pharisee's house. Lord have mercy. Can you see this woman in Simon's house? Because under normal circumstance, she would not even go near a Pharisee, and a Pharisee would not go near a woman like this. Under normal circumstance, they was opposite. They live in opposite direction. They done different things. They would never have ever even crossed paths. The strange thing about this is that two people who normally live on opposite end of the spectrum have now come together. A prostitute and a Pharisee. People who normally wouldn't be together is now together. Why? Because of Jesus. Jesus have a way of bringing folks together. Folks who normally wouldn't even sit together. When it come down to Jesus, Jesus have a way of bringing people together, even from opposite paths. Black and white, rich and poor, Jews and Gentiles, free and slave. He have a way of bringing us together. People who normally don't get along come together. Bulldogs and eagles, panthers and parrots, road runners, and y'all know what I'm talking about. Jesus brings folks together. And so as she crashed the party, she come in, and as she come in, Simon is looking. This woman become the center of attraction. This woman, she been seeing how, no doubt, Simon had been treating Jesus. This woman, like Jesus, she loved her Savior, but didn't like how he was being treated. She become the center of attraction. No doubt this woman don't know much about prostitutes. But no doubt this woman is a good judge. Somebody said they do. Somebody who that said they do. No doubt this woman is a good judge of character. She being in her profession that she in is a good judge of character. Because she's seen men, she have dealt with men, and she have seen where they come from. She have seen who they really were. She heard all the promises, every come on, every cover up. She seen them for who they were. She's a good judge of character. She heard all the promises. I take care of you, I do this and I do that. And they use her up and then drop her like a hot potato. They seen and heard all the come on, all the lines. What's your name? And all the lines like well, you know the lines y'all be using. But she heard all of that stuff. She heard all of that stuff. And she knew it was something different about Jesus. Jesus wasn't like all the other men. Jesus wasn't trying to use her up. He wasn't trying to establish a relationship with her just for what he could get out of it. He was different from all the others men. You remember that woman at the well? That woman at the well. Jesus said, "Go call your husband." She said, "I don't have." Now he said, "You're right. You're right." So you had how many? 5. And now the one you got now ain't yours. And the Bible says she left her water pot at the well and went running through the city talking about, "Come see a man that told me everything I ever done." In other words, this man is different from all the other men. It's something different about Jesus. Jesus is different. She knew Jesus was different. She knew Jesus wasn't just going to make a promise and then throw her away. She knew that Jesus was different. That if he told you something, you can count on it. If he said it, you can believe it. If he promised you, then it was just as good as money in the bank. This man was different. So Simon watched this woman. As she came, no doubt, very attractive woman, no doubt. No doubt. No doubt. She came walking in, crying, Simon, as he watched this woman, she wanted to just anoint Jesus' feet with the perfume. But as she got it ready to anoint his feet, she started crying and just couldn't stop the tears from flowing. As she thought about how good Jesus been to her. As she thought about how Simon had been treated him badly. She started crying and couldn't hold back the tears. So she took her hair and began to dry his feet with her hair. And then when she got his feet dry, she kissed his feet. And then she pulled out that ointment and anointed his feet. Oh, can I remind you, this woman's background, this woman, may I remind you, as she wiped his feet, as she touched him, as she took down her hair and dried his feet with her hair, and as she kissed his feet, and then took that ointment and anointed his feet as she was touching him, as she rubbed his feet. Simon was looking, and Simon was upset. May I remind you about this woman's background? This woman, being the woman she was, being the woman she used to be, she was used to touching men. She was not ashamed to show her emotion. She reacted to Jesus exactly as a woman with her background would act. She rubbed him. She touched him. She kissed his feet. She dried her tears with her hair and then anointed her feet. This woman was affectionate. This woman was demonstrative. This woman was emotional. This woman was passionate. This woman, Lord have mercy, this woman loved Jesus. Some of y'all sitting there just like Simon, you can't handle it. Amen. Some of y'all just like Simon, you can't handle this. As she was weeping, because she loved Jesus. She wasn't afraid to show her affection for Jesus. Yeah, she cried. She honored his greatness. She wept, overwhelmed with sorrow from her past. She wiped Jesus' feet with her hair as a sign of her deep humility. She kissed his feet as a gesture of affection and respect. She anointed his feet in gratitude for what Jesus had done for her. Yes, Simon standing there looking. Simon looking. Simon saying, if he was really a prophet, he'll know that this woman is a sinner. This woman, what she was doing go against everything Simon stood for. Simon, a Pharisee, conservative. This go against everything he stands for. He's deeply offended by what this woman is doing. This is a woman who is a sinner, he said. And she come in here, number one, she crashed my party. Come up in my house, up in here. And then gonna carry on like she carrying on. It don't take all that. Don't take all that. All that crying and all that wiping his feet with her hair and all that emotion and affection. It don't take all that. It's disgusting. Dirty. Nasty. Simon looking. Offended. Simon, as he looked Jesus being the prophet he is, knew exactly what was in Simon's heart. He said, Simon, I got a problem. Simon, I got a problem with you. Simon, I got something I need to say to you. I got something I need to tell you. Simon said, Master, say on. Jesus said that there was a money lender who had two debtors. One owed him $5,000. The other one owed him $50,000. And when neither one of them had anything to pay, the money lender forgave them both. He said, Simon, which one you think would be more grateful? Which one do you think would be more loving? Simon, when the debt was canceled, which one do you think would be more grateful? Simon said, well, he realized what was going on. He felt himself being trapped. And Simon wasn't so quick to answer. He said, well, I suppose he who have been forgiven much. He said, Simon, you said right. He said, Simon, you're right. He then turned to the woman. But he didn't talk to the woman. He just turned to the woman and he said, Simon, I'm still talking to you, Simon. He said, Simon, you see this woman. He said, she loved me much. He said, Simon, when I came to your house, you broke all custom. Because you, number one, didn't give me no water. You know I've been walking these dusty streets. Didn't give me no water to wash my feet. Simon, number two, you gave me no kiss. You didn't salute me with a holy kiss. You didn't salute me. Number three, Simon, you offered me no oil. You kept me in arm distance. You kept me from a distance. Simon, you act like you was ashamed of me. But Simon, even though you gave me no water, she washed my feet with her tears. Simon, even though you gave me no kiss, she kissed my feet. Simon, even though you didn't offer me even no cheap oil, she offered me and anointed my feet with a expensive box of alabaster ointment. Said Simon, you kept me at arm distance, but she is not ashamed of me. Simon, you didn't even bother to show me the minimum courtesy, but she have lavished me with love. Simon, you know something about religion. You know about the temple. You know about sacrifice. You know about the law. But you missed everything about me. Simon, she don't know nothing about the temple. She not a religious person. She don't know nothing about the law and sacrifice, but she got it. She understands what I come here for. Simon, your problem is you think you're better than this prostitute. Simon, you think you're better than this call girl. Simon, you said that she is a sinner. But I want to tell you, you got it wrong, Simon. Simon, she was a sinner. Somebody missed the shouting point. Simon said she is a sinner. But Jesus said she was a sinner. God changed the tense in her life. In other words, she was an ex. Now, before you misunderstand me, all of y'all, including myself, are ex something. I said we all are ex something. Ex liars, ex haters, Ex-backstabber. I'll be down your street in a minute. Ex-gambler. Ex-drug addict. Ex-alcohol. I know I'm getting close. Well, let me get back to my lesson. We all are ex-something. Simon, you got a problem. Simon, you got a problem. The problem is that you see her as she was and not as she is. Some people can't get past your past. I said some folks can't get past your past. Some folks want to keep you right where you were 30, 40 years ago. Some folks can't get past your past. Stuff you done in school, they still holding against you. Stuff you done 10 years ago, they still holding it against you. Just because you did something in your youth, we all make foolish mistakes and do foolish things when we're young. Just because you done some foolish thing when you're young, they still want to hold it to you. You stole something 10 years ago. One time and you repented of it, you changed, Jesus came into your life, and folks still calling you a thief. You better watch him though. If you let him come over there and do some work, you better watch him now. You know he went to jail 20 years ago for that. 20 years ago he went. Yeah, I still got the newspaper clipping. You want to see it? They can't get past your past. But I thank God that God can get past my past. And as Simon stand there looking, as the message began to sink in, Jesus now turned to the woman and speak to her for the first time. He turned to the woman and he looks at this woman. And he said to this woman, your sin, which are many, are all forgiven. Jesus speak to the woman and he said, your sins are forgiven. That take care of her past. Your faith have saved you. That take care of her present. And then he said, go in peace. That take care of her future. He didn't have to tell her, stop selling your body. He didn't have to tell her, don't sell your body anymore. He didn't have to tell her this, that, and other. He said, your sins are forgiven. Your faith have saved you. Go in peace. I want to tell you, thank God for Jesus. Thank God. Jesus simply telling us that when you look at this short story, the problem with Simon wasn't that he didn't see Jesus. The problem with Simon wasn't that he didn't understand Jesus. The problem with Simon wasn't that he didn't see the woman. The problem with Simon was he didn't see himself. Simon thought he was better than this woman. Simon thought that just because this woman was a prostitute and he basically was a good man, he thought he was better than her. But can I tell you, Simon was wrong? I said Simon was wrong. You remember Jesus tell the story about two men who went up to the temple to pray? One a Pharisee, another one a sinner. And the Pharisees, as he prayed, he said, God, I thank you. I'm not like other men. I wonder how many times have we said, I'm so glad I'm not like other folks. I'm not like her. I'm not like him. I'm not like them. Simon said, I'm so glad I'm not like other folks. I go to church. I fast. I give my tithes. I pray. Lord, I thank you. I'm not like other folks. But Jesus said that the sinner didn't so much as even lift up his eyes towards heaven, but just smoked on his chest and said, Lord, have mercy on me, a sinner. He said the sinner went down justified in the eyesight of God more than the Pharisees. Simon's problem was he didn't see himself for who he was. Can I talk to some of us Pharisees? You may not never ever cheated. May not ever smoked any weed, reefer, Mary Jane, Acapulco Gold. You know what I'm talking about. Green, y'all know what I'm talking about. May I ever smoked any of that stuff? May I ever have drunk any Jack Daniel, Royal Crown Apple, Crown Royal Apple, I think that is that Crown Royal Apple? Somebody said, uh-huh. Vanilla. Southern Comfort. Old Crow. They still make Old Crow. Somebody said, yeah. Man, I never drunk none of that stuff. Man, I never stole nothing in your life. Man, I never did this, that, and the other. But you still can't stand up and sound better than they are. Because the record said, all have sinned. I feel like preaching now. It said, all have sinned and come short of the glory of God. It didn't say nothing about y'all sin. It said, all have sinned. All sin would either be forgiven in Jesus or punished in hell. I don't care. We all come from the same mold. Adam. Some may just be a little bit moldier than others, but we come from the same mold. I stopped by to tell you, we all was on death row. Amen. The record said all have sinned, and the wages of sin is death. We was on death row. But Jesus stepped in, forgave me of my sin. He said, all your sin are forgiven, Jefferson. I don't know how you feel about it, but that put joy in my heart. That put pep in my step. That put a song on my lip when he said, your sins are forgiven. If any man be in Christ, he's a new creature. Woo! I'm the one. I'm the one owed 50,000. I know he said one owed 5,000 and one owed 50,000. Matter of fact, if he was telling my story, may have been 250,000. I don't know what it was. Amen. And if he'd been telling your story, amen, you put your own amount on it. But I stopped by to tell you all my sin. Amen. Somebody up in here owed a $1 million debt. Amen. But God forgave you of all your sin. Though your debt may not have been much as mine. I got something to shout about. I got something to be happy about. I got something to be excited about. And if I sometime act like this woman to the extreme. This woman came in crying, washing his feet with her tears, and then drying his feet with her hair, and then anointing his feet, kissing his feet. That may be too much for some folks. That may be to the extreme to some folks. But I stopped by to tell you, if you see me acting to the extreme, it's because I know how good God been to me. I know how far he brought me. I know how he never left me. Always kept me. Even when I was in the wrong, he kept me. I know what he done for me. I don't deny what he done for me. I'm not ashamed of what he done for me. I love him. I love him. He been good to me. Brought me from a mighty long way. I should have been dead a long time ago. I should have been dead in my grave a long time ago. My mama should have been at my funeral. But he kept me. Now that might not make you happy, but that make me happy. He spared my life, forgave me of my sin, started me on another day's journey. Lord have mercy. I saw 1990 roll out. I saw 2000 come in. I saw 2005. I saw 2010. I saw 2015. I was still here. I saw 2016, 2017, 2018 about to end, and I'm still here. I'm still here. I say I'm still here. I say I'm still here. I say I'm still here. You still here. God been good to you. You're still here. You ought to shout about that. You're still here. Other folks is dead. You're still here. Classmate dead. You're still here. Family member dead. You're still here. Folks younger than you dead. But you're still here. I'm not ashamed. I'm like this woman. I'm like this woman. I love the man. So Jesus said her sin, which I mean it, are all forgiven. She left a new woman. Past gone. Past gone. Simon, like some folks, couldn't get past that. And some folks won't never get past your past. But don't you pay folks no attention. Don't worry about what they call you. Don't worry about what they saying about you. And don't worry about what they said about you. Don't worry about those mistakes you made when you was younger, in your teens, in your 20s, in your 30s. We all made mistakes, but you grown up now. You got past that. But some folks still want to label you as that person. Don't worry about those folks. Don't worry about them. Let them keep on talking. Jesus said he got a different take on your story. You can't let what other folks say about you define your story. What Jesus said is what really matters. And so what about Simon? What about Simon? You say, well, what about Simon? I tell you about Simon. Simon just simply got more than what he bargained for when he invited Jesus into his house. He got more than what he bargained for. He thought he was just going to have a casual dinner, rub elbow with Jesus, and then let him leave, and he still be the Pharisee, still got his friend. He got more than what he bargained for. And that tells me that when you don't really have a commitment, and when you're not really serious and don't really want a commitment with Jesus, and you just sort of straddle the fence, you just sort of middle of the road, you'll end up getting more than what you really bargained for. And the truth will come out sooner or later. If you're here today, the prophet, the prostitute, and the Pharisee. If you're here today, I'm so glad. I'm so glad that God doesn't define my story
Yeah. Yeah.
by my past mistakes.
Thank you, Lord.
Boy, we done made some mistakes in our life. I know I'm not the only one. We done made some messes of our life in the past. Done made some bad choices. Done some things we regret. But thanks be to God, God doesn't allow that to define our story. That was just a chapter in your past. Your story ain't over yet. Your story, God is still writing your story. Your book is not at the end of the chapter. It's not the end yet. God is able to start you over again.